Well, it's good evening from me, and it's good morning from her. Listen to Radio FM 88 Australia. Of course, the marvels of technology allow us to go simulcast through the radio station as audio, and of course, you can listen to the show on Radio FM 88 Australia. That's the YouTube site or on the Facebook site. And of course, it's my co-host is in the UK, and it's currently 9 o'clock in the morning for her. So those people who are watching the archival shows just have to remember that if you wish to participate in the live shows, it's 7 o'clock Queensland time. Queensland never goes to daylight savings, so it's constant 7 o'clock. UK goes to time shifts with daylight saving. It's currently sitting at 9 o'clock. So without further ado, my co-host who's sitting below me tonight. So the southern hemisphere's got one over the northern hemisphere tonight. So I'll hand you over to Andrena.
Hi everybody, good day, welcome. And if you're new to Dreaming the New Dream, I hope you enjoy the show and you'll come back and watch many more. Today is Thursday the 17th of November, and these weeks are going faster and faster, and I'm not going to mention any of the words that might be coming in December. It's my privilege to have Debra Sofia Magdalene on our show today, and I met Debra, I think we were working about 2017 in Glastonbury, as you do. We both work with doTERRA essential oils and other devices, which we'll come into later. But you've got quite a story to share, and you've I thought I was a cosmic gypsy, but nothing compared to you. You've got a pet sitting business, and I know you're Director of Global Hugs. So without further ado, welcome, and it's lovely to have you on the show. And I would love you to start from the very beginning and all the steps that have taken you, because I know you've been to Peru, you've been in the Amazon rainforest, you've done sacred plant medicine. So I know you've got lots of wisdom to share. So welcome, and thank you for being our guest today.
Oh, thank you for the invitation, Andrena. It's great to be here with you this morning.
So you were born in Lancashire, in Burnley, Lancashire, up north, if for people that don't know where Lancashire is.
I certainly was, yes. And, I lived in Burnley for a couple of years as a baby. And then my parents emigrated to Australia. And we lived in Australia for 4 years. And one of my sisters was born out there, and she's recently emigrated to Australia in January of this year. So, yeah, Australia's always in our hearts, and even more so now that one of my sisters is there as well.
Yeah, nice that you've got a connection there, eh, for when you go across.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so carry on. How because I know you've done so many different things. So do the stepping stones of where they've led you to this moment in time now.
Okay. Well, there's quite a few stepping stones, but I'll start on my awakening, I think, which was in 2004 when my husband left me for another woman. And, we'd been together for many, many years, for like 19, 20 years, had 2 children. And, when he left me, I thought, I've got an opportunity now to really create the life that I want. And it was very much an awakening because I was quite asleep back then. He was into David Icke, and he'd be like reading and talking about energy and frequency and vibration, and it just went completely over my head. And I think there's always divine timing for everything. But, he did me like a huge service, and I'm sure that we had a soul contract for that to happen, because I then started to plan out my life. I was 44 at the time when we split up. And, I'd always done a lot of personal development training. It was always very much part of my life. But I enrolled on Tony Robbins' Mastery University course and found myself going to America and Australia and training with him all over the world. And then I was running events in Manchester for 10 years. The events were called Mastery Path, and we'd host speakers from around the world to come and share their wisdom. And that was a big part of my awakening as well, you know, and my knowledge and my wisdom coming in. And I was doing like supported lodgings with homeless teenagers. I had a big 5-bedroomed house. And so for 5 years, you know, I was taking in young people that really needed that support in life. You know, they couldn't live at home or the parents had passed away, giving them life skills. And then when I turned 50, I thought, you know what? All my life I've spent time looking after everybody else. And it's now time for me. And the aha moment came when I was actually having a coaching call with my coach. And he said, Debra, where do you come on your list?
Uh-huh.
And it was like, oh my goodness. And he said, how many people are you putting before you at the time? And I was like number 8 or 9 on the list. And that was a big wake-up call for me. And I thought, oh gosh, I've got, you know, like we're sort of conditioned, aren't we? And I think especially as women to put other people before us. But if we don't look after ourselves, you know, we can end up burning out. And that's what was happening to me.
Mm.
And so I made a big life decision. I decided that I was going to sell my house. And I gave my children 6-month notice to leave home. They were 22 and 24 at the time, so it wasn't as if they were babies.
Yeah.
And I just thought, all the time that they're living with me, they're not learning the life lessons. They've got it too easy at home. And my boundaries at the time weren't great. So I thought, I'm going to leave them to it and I'm going to do my own thing. So my next door neighbour bought my house. Everything was so in alignment for that to happen. And this was in 2011. So it was a huge letting go process, and it was a great exercise in non-attachment, because like at first I thought, what am I going to do with all my stuff? Am I going to keep it? I'm going to put it in storage. And I had a chat with 2 women, one in Australia actually, and one in America, who were also radio hosts. I was running a radio show at the time as well. And I had a chat with both of them, and they'd done the same thing. And they both advised me not to put anything in storage. They said, just get rid of everything.
Yeah.
So I went through that process of letting go, and I was a real hoarder at the time. And so it was hugely emotional, you know, like going through all these birthday cards I'd had since age 1.
Oh my God.
It was like, you know, you sort of hold on to your past sometimes. And that was something that was instilled in me from my mother, you know, because, and I think being war babies, they don't let anything go. There's always, you hold on to everything in case you ever need it again. So that was a biggie for me. And so what happened was in 2011, I'd sold my house, and I'd actually planned a 2-month road trip around France, and I actually got in the car with the camping gear. I was with my partner Paul, and we set up at 2:00 in the morning to drive down to Dover. As we're driving down the motorway, I felt lighter and lighter and lighter. And I always remember the sun coming up. And I asked Paul to take a photograph to capture the moment. As I was driving down the motorway, I started to get quite hysterical, and I started to think, oh my God, I've done it. I've done it. And then, Jeffrey, if you just want to put this first photo up, this is like the moment the sun's there, and I'm thinking, oh my God, you know, and I just felt so excited, and also like butterflies in my stomach, because it was like a huge thing for me to have done. And the weight of clearing the house and like all the fears that were coming up just completely vanished. It was wonderful. So I drove down to Tuscany, and you know, we had a week in a villa in Tuscany, and then we went to Damanhur, which is a spiritual community up in the mountains in northern Italy, and spent 10 days there. And then did like a road trip around France, visiting the Mary Magdalene sites, the Cathar sites, really connecting with like past lives as well as Cathar, which was quite extraordinary. And what was really interesting is at the time I was reading a book by Kate Moss called The Labyrinth. And as I'm reading this book, all the places that she's talking about in the book were the places that I were visiting in the same order. And it was like really synchronistic, but also very profound as well. And my plan was I was going to come back to the UK, get a visa for India, and then go traveling in India. That was what my plan was, but the universe had other plans for me. And what happened was that as I was driving back up the motorway to get the ferry, the steering just completely jammed. The car had no control over it. It was veering over the motorway. I was only doing about 60 miles an hour. And I tried to correct the car, and the car went into a spin. And I thought, oh my God, I could die here. But I had no fear at all. And I just said, angels, protect you now. And on the third spin, the car hit the central reservation and then came over to the hard shoulder. And there was an abrupt stop on the hard shoulder. And I've no doubt that my angels did that. And the airbags went off, and I was like in shock and thinking, oh my God, what just happened? You know?
Yeah.
To cut a long story short, the car was a write-off. I ended up leaving it in France, just giving it to the garage. Otherwise, I would have had to pay to have it scrapped. And then had all the camping gear just shipped back to the UK and got the train back. And I was actually in the station that had the Eurotunnel train connection. So I was able to just get on the train and head back, which is why I know that it was all synchronistically orchestrated. And when I came back to the UK, my plans of going to India was scuppered a little bit because it turned out that my dad was ill and he was my mum's carer, and my dad needed to go through treatment. Mum had Alzheimer's, dementia, she was registered blind, and dad was going through cancer treatment. So I actually put all my travel plans on hold and stayed with my parents in a caring role for a couple of years, but went away for shorter trips. So I did like a 19-day tour of Egypt, which was wonderful, visiting all the temples, there again reconnecting with past lives. And then in 2020, what year would it have been? 2012, December 2012, I went to Guatemala and did like a pilgrimage to Guatemala with a group of other people, and we were sort of helping to build the Rainbow Bridge, and we're doing all this ceremonies at sacred sites. And we'd gone to a Mayan ceremonial site, which was run by a lady called Lydia Trattenberg, and we were doing a crystal skull meditation. And during this meditation, this obsidian crystal skull instructed me that I had to go back there for the 3-day 2012 ceremony, which was like for the end of the Mayan calendar. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I was supposed to be flying back to the UK on the 13th of December. So I thought, well, that's what I'm being instructed to do. So that's what I'll do. And so we spent time in Guatemala. Everybody else went home and I stayed and with a couple of other people, and returned to the Mayan Center. And when I arrived there, Lydia had left a note for me saying, Deborah, I've been called to Argentina on urgent business. Please, can you organise this ceremony for me and host everybody who comes? And oh, okay then. I've been running events and it didn't faze me.
No.
Hey, girls, can I just stop you there? Hey, we've been freezing in and out because now it's come back to stable. So we operate on broadband cable here, so for it to drop out and freeze and all that stuff, it's just been ongoing here. So have you been seeing yourself stall because
No.
You've been carrying on talking, have you?
Yeah.
All right. Yes. I'm not too sure whether or not to go and reboot the router and the modem, to be perfectly honest, but should we carry on then? Because I mean, I haven't been listening. I missed out on all your exciting stuff, Deborah.
But you'll have to listen to the recording.
Yeah, you can listen to the recording, Deborah. But we were just talking about being in Guatemala, and so when I was in Guatemala, we returned to the Mayan ceremonial center, and the Mayan priest arrived, and we were building like the sacred fire. And if you just put the next photo up, this actually shows it was like a 3-hour fire ceremony preparation to actually build the fire. And the Mayan priest gave me the honor of actually doing that. He was, and it's done in a very specific way. You bless everything, and then you lay it out. And then as we were doing that, it was like I was having these flashbacks of having done this before, because it was so natural to me, and it was like, whoa, it was really quite profound. And so being in Guatemala was a wonderful experience, and it gave me the confidence of traveling and navigating public transport on my own in a foreign country. Do you want to just put the next picture up, Jeffrey? I don't know if you're freezing.
Is that the train?
Yeah, it's the fire ceremony there. That's the one.
Which one? There's no. I don't see a fire ceremony. The next one down is the
Guatemala.
You're getting on the train. Eh?
It's the one before that. Don't worry if you've not got it.
In the car.
Yeah, don't worry about it, because what we can do now is hop to the train one, because after Guatemala, in 2013, I'd gone to Spain to do like a juicing retreat, and whilst I was there, we had somebody beamed in from New Zealand who was doing a talk on the journey of the soul. And it really resonated with me. And one of the guys on the retreat said, hang on a minute, how do you know all this, to the guy who was talking to us? And he said, well, I've had direct experience of it when I was in the Amazon rainforest. We had like a multi-dimensional experience working with the sacred plant medicines. And as he was telling me this voice in my head was saying, you've got to go, you've got to go. Here we go again.
Yeah.
And so at the end of his talk, I said, look, I run events in Manchester. If you're ever in the UK, I'd love to host you. And he said, well, actually, I'm coming over in June. This was like the following month. So I ended up organising 2 talks for him in Manchester. But when I came back to the UK after the retreat, a few things happened. First of all, I opened up my emails and I had an email from Children of the Sun Foundation, and it was all about a sacred plant medicine retreat in the Amazon rainforest. And it was like, oh, and when I looked at the facilitators, this guy who I'd been talking to was actually one of the facilitators, and I didn't even know that it was aligned with this organisation, Children of the Sun Foundation. So we ended up like laughing about that. And on the same day, my sister had returned from Brazil, and she brought me and my other sisters crystal bracelets. And she said, Deborah, she said, you've got to come and see me today. And I said, right, what is it? She said, this crystal bracelet was screaming at me for you. She said, I'm going to get them all out and see which one you're drawn to. So I went up to see her. She puts these 5 bracelets on the table, and straight away I said, it's this one. What is that stone? And it was Amazonite. And I just thought, I'm like, okay, I'm going to Peru. Yeah. So I packed my bags, and in September, embarked on a one-way ticket to Peru, because I didn't know how long I was going to be there. I was just planning on following my heart. I'd booked a retreat with Children of the Sun Foundation. I was there with my backpack at the train station, which was really, really heavy because it was full of school supplies and, things for the children in the Amazon. And there I am with my coffee in my bags, heading off into the unknown. So, we flew to Lima and then went up to Iquitos. And then on the next photo, it shows like a boat that we're traveling down the Amazon in, and it was like a 6-hour journey from Iquitos to the San Jose Pueblo on the boat, which was really deep in the Amazon rainforest.
That must have been amazing.
Oh, it was incredible. That's not the right. All the photos are numbered on my new. Yeah, so it's the Amazon boat. There's a group of us sitting there on the boat, and it was a wonderful journey. What I absolutely loved about the Amazon was that we were living completely in harmony with nature. There was no running water, no electricity. We were living in houses on stilts. We would bathe in the Amazon twice a day. And we were following like a specific dieter, which the shaman use, which I've been following before I went there as well. So, super clean diet, no sugar, no salt, no spicy foods, just very bland foods. And it's preparing your body to receive sacred plant medicines. So I'm there with, a group of other people. We'd go on jungle walks. We'd look at plants. We would help the shaman to select the plants, come back, brew them all up, and then you've got medicines for different things. So you've got like blood cleansers. You've got this, that, and the other. And then we're working with ayahuasca, which is an entheogen, which gives you a super conscious experience. And we did several ceremonies over the time that we were there, and it was really profound. And like I'd set my intention before each ceremony, and I would say, what do I want to get from this one? And one of the ones I wanted to experience was like a life review. What is it like when you die and you're having a life review? That's to experience that. I did like an ancestral healing down the family line, which was profound. And whilst I was doing this ancestral healing, I could just feel myself being held. And the shaman and, the facilitators got up and they all came in a circle around me, and they were blessing me with the Agua de Florida. And it was like so magical. And, like the following day, I said to the shaman, I said, how did you know to come and support me at that moment in time? And he explained that when they're in ceremony, it's like he's watching a bank of television monitors, and he can see what's every single person in the ceremony is actually going through at that moment in time, so they know when to actually go and support them.
Amazing.
It was incredible. And, like you do purge with ayahuasca, and it's one of the most cleansing experiences. It sounds horrible, but, you're going to be sick ingesting these substances, but it's one of the most cleansing and purifying things. And it wasn't unpleasant at all, which was really surprising to me. Now, one of the most profound lessons I got actually when I was in the Amazon was the importance of grounding, because I didn't realize until we're doing these energy exercises how often I was out of body.
Yeah.
And, like a lot of missing pieces of jigsaw puzzles were dropping in for me whilst we were there. And one of them, which I'll share with you, is like the manifestation process, because people watch like The Secret, for example, or they'll read law of attraction books, but then it doesn't work for them and they don't know why. And one of the reasons is that you need to have the balance, right? In life, we're living in polarity, and you can't have the highs without the lows. And the problem is that if you don't have the emotional balance, when you're on a high, you're manifesting, what it is that you want in the astral plane. You're building a blueprint for it. But when you have a low, you're wiping out that blueprint, and then you've got to start again. And so the balance is so important, and walking in that middle ground, but also being grounded, because if you're not grounded, you're not grounding your intentions and bringing them into the physical. And so doing grounding exercises and being connected to the earth, and, you know, walking barefoot on the earth, really connecting with nature is something that is really super important to me, because everything we need is in nature. Everything. So we were in the Amazon for about 17, 18, 19 days. I can't remember now. And it was magical. And I always remember, you know, the journey back down the Amazon. I'm sitting on the front of the boat for a lot of the journey in the beautiful sunshine, just taking in the surroundings. And it was a very different journey going out of the Amazon than it was coming in. You know, it was really, really magical. And what I'd done is I'd booked a trek to Machu Picchu, because it had been on my vision board for so many years, you know, for 8 years. And I kept looking at my vision board thinking, oh God, how can that ever happen? How can I ever afford to go to Machu Picchu? And I'd read the Celestine prophecy, and I'd also read an article in the local paper about a woman who'd got divorced and who'd gone to Machu Picchu, and I'd actually cut that out, and it was absolutely incredible. And we did a trek over the Andes Mountains. And you know, we were trekking for 3 days. I was trekking with 3 ladies from America, and we just had the most incredible time. We did the Moonstone to Sun Temple trek, which is a quiet route, and the scenery, you know, we had virtually the whole place to ourselves and hardly saw anybody else. So a very different experience to if you're doing the Inca Trail, for example, where there's a lot of people there. This was just like us with our guides and the porters, which was really magical. Yeah, and so we're just trekking for 3 days, camping. We experienced different weather climates, you know, the mist, the sun. But when I actually finally got there to Machu Picchu, I always remember the sun coming up. You know, we got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get up there for sunrise, and the tears were just streaming down my face. It was the most beautiful experience, because, like, after visualizing it for so long, I was finally there, and it was like so emotional, and I can actually feel that feeling. You know, it really takes me back to it. The first time I went to Machu Picchu, I climbed Huayna Picchu, which is one of the mountains there, and the views looking down from Huayna Picchu down to Machu Picchu were just incredible. And then I set the intention to go back to Machu Picchu, because I wanted to go back for the equinox, and I actually went back 6 months later. But did a different route, walking along the train tracks from Santa Teresa. They call it the backdoor route, which is a budget option, but also a very beautiful option, because you're seeing all the scenery as you're trekking down through the river and everything. Yeah, just absolutely beautiful.
Stunning.
And then I wanted to stay still for a while, and so I rented a room in Cusco, and I stayed in Cusco for several weeks and started writing a book, actually, called Life Lessons from Mosquitoes, which came from my experience in the Amazon, working you know, with the plants. And I remember at the end of one of my journeys, the mosquitoes have always eaten me alive.
Ditto. God.
Yeah, they always love my blood. And I always remember at the end of my first ayahuasca ceremony, a mosquito landed on my hand, and I gave it permission to suck my blood. And I was really tuning in to what that felt like, and really tuning into the mosquito. And it's like I shape-shifted into the mosquito and matched my frequency to the frequency of the mosquito. And all my fear around mosquitoes just vanished. And I was giving this mosquito permission. And then, you know, when it was full, I said, okay, on you go. And off it went. And so, like in the book that I started to write, I was researching mosquitoes, and I found that it's only the females of the species that bite you, and they only bite when they need the protein from your blood to nurture the laying of the eggs. And so it changed my relationship with mosquitoes. I'm thinking, oh wow, I'm nurturing a female, I'm nurturing a sister from another species.
Oh, that's a different way of looking at it.
Yeah. And, you know, I have to remember that, you know, I was in their home, I was in their environment. And, you know, all my fear about insects and things just disappeared. And after being in the rainforest for a while, and then staying still in Peru, I went up to Arequipa and I did a trek of the Colca Canyon, which was just incredible. And the Colca Canyon was like such a difficult trek. It was a 3-day trek. There again, the scenery is absolutely stunning. It was really hot. That one there that's up on the show at the moment, that's of the Andes. If you just find the other ones where I'm in the sun with the rocks, Jeffrey. You're just going through them. There we go. That's the Colca Canyon. Just go back one. And yeah, the terrain, like you're really low down in this canyon, and on that trek, it was like a real test of endurance, and it was very difficult conditions, and we were exhausted, you know, after trekking in the hot sun all that time. But also extremely beautiful. And if anybody ever does a trek of the Colca Canyon, never ever select the short option. Always do the 3-day one as a minimum, because there were some people there doing like the 1-2-day trek, and they were pretty miserable because they missed all the best bits of it, which was like beautiful lagoons and pools you can chill out in, whereas we got to do that. And on the last day of the trek, you know, we set off at 4:45 in the morning to get up before sunrise to try and get to the top of the canyon before the sun comes out, because then it's really, really hot, really very, very humid. And that was a real achievement doing that, because, you know, there were a lot of people that were much younger than me that were resorting to hiring horses to get them back up there. So yeah, that was amazing. And then so I'd been in Peru for 3 months, and my visa ran out, and so I went to Bolivia to do a visa run. And Bolivia is a beautiful country, and I ended up, you know, going to like the island of the sun, the island of the moon, just having the most amazing high vibe experiences, synchronistic experiences, just living heaven on earth every day. But I also had an experience whilst I was in Bolivia, which really, there again, was very synchronistic, because I'd been reading a book by Paul Coelho, the Pilgrim, and he's on the road to Santiago in this book, and he gets attacked by a wild dog, and like a wolf, and they're fighting, and he becomes the dog in order to protect himself. So I'd just finished reading that book the night before, and then I decided to trek up this mountain, and I'm attacked by a pack of wild dogs.
Really?
Yeah. And had I not read that book, I would have reacted in a very, very different way. I would have reacted from fear. And I just instinctively knew I had to become the top dog. So I just turned around and roared at these dogs. And they sort of didn't know what to do and backed off. And then the leaders of the pack came at me again, trying to attack me and bite me. And I just went, ah! And I just gave it everything that I had. And they backed off, and I turned around and shut up and think, oh my God. So then I'm looking for like a big stick in case they come back, so that I've got some protection. But it's amazing the resources that we can draw on from within ourselves when we actually need to. And we can access any resource at any time. So it's really useful to look at different archetypes and to try on different personas so that when you need to access those, you've got them in your arsenal, because we all need to have things at our disposal whenever we need that.
Definitely. Wow. Yeah. That's a story that many people couldn't share, eh?
Yeah, I stayed in La Paz for 3 days in Bolivia, and I absolutely hated it. The energy there was really, really heavy. And I actually was, I was caught up in something called the tourist police scam, and ended up being kidnapped in the back of this car.
Another day in your life, eh?
Yeah, I know. And like, they were demanding my passport, and they wanted the PIN numbers to my credit cards and things like this. And this man was like leaning over the back seat of this car, it's just screaming at me with beads of sweat coming down his head. And I just looked at him in the eye, and I just said, "You don't frighten me." I said, "You either take me to the police station or you let me out of the car now." And they didn't know what to do with me. There's 3 people in the car with me that are all caught up in this scam. And so in the end, they stopped the car. I opened the door, jumped out in the middle of nowhere, and then tried to find my way back to where I'd come from, in the centre of town. And I went to one of the tourist operators because I booked a tour to the Unity Salt Flats. And I said to him, "What do I do? Do I go to the police about this, or what should I do? What would you advise?" And he said, "You have been very, very lucky." He said, "This scam has been going on for about 15 years and the police are in on it. So there's no point going to the police." I said, "If you do go to the police, you'll end up missing your bus to where you're going next." He says, "So just thank your lucky stars." And there again, whilst I was in the car, I brought my angels in for protection. I work with my angelic guides, and I've no doubt that protected me. I was very fortunate to get away. And the only thing that was stolen from me actually was an external power bank, and also my lead to recharge my iPad. So I set the intention to be able to find another lead because I was going on this spectacular 3-day tour of uni, and I wanted to be able to take video and things on my iPad and to be able to recharge it. And fortunately, there were people on the tour that had iPads, and I was able to charge it. And then on the last day of the tour, I'd gone to a bar with a friend that I'd met on there, Layla from the UK actually, and we met these Australian guys. And I just happened to say to them, "I'm looking for a lead for an iPad. Does anybody have a spare one?" And they did. So I bought that off them, and everything was good. But it just shows that when we're actually in a really, really high vibration, we can set an intention and it can manifest very, very quickly. Very, very quickly. And so I tend to live my life like this, in trust, in grace, and with adventure and excitement. because when we're living in a high vibration, you know, life becomes effortless, but we still have the challenges because those are there for growth. You know, you can't have like the other. There's one of the story I'll just share with you of Peru, and I was actually living in Ollantaytambo for a while, and I'd look out of my window and I would see this mountain, and I decided one day to climb this mountain, and it was like, I remember it was quite a challenging climb, and I was actually, I thought, you know, when you're climbing mountains, you think you're nearly at the top, and you get to that point, and then behind it. It's a bit like that. But there's an outcrop, and I was sitting on this outcrop. I'd climbed up to actually sit on it, and like for the views below. And then I thought that was a really silly thing to do, because I'm up really, really high here. It's a sheer drop at the front and on either side of me, and I've actually no idea how I'm going to get back down. So I got my iPad out and I recorded a little video in case I fell off the mountain and people were wondering what happened to me. So I recorded this this little video saying, you know, I thought I'd better just come up here and explain what's happened. But then what I did is I called in the ancestors from the land, and I just said, look, I need your protection, I need your help, I need to be safe, I need to connect safely with the land. And it really was about taking a leap of faith, because I had to actually jump from this place to where, you know, I was actually safe. Do you want to see if that one will play, Debra? This is actually the video. But I'm in Ollantaytambo, and I decided to climb nearly at the here, the other side of me, and I'm wondering whether to continue. The disappeared, and I'm now rock climbing. I've no equipment, but I'm by myself, and I thought I'd better record a video just in case anything happens to me. Then, seriously, life is about challenge. It's about overcoming challenges. On this mountain, I couldn't turn back, but it's there to be conquered. It's there. It's part of the human journey to keep going, because it's there because it can. So I could. Luckily, you didn't need that for anybody else. Well, I actually posted it to Facebook a few days later, and my family were cracking up, saying how stupid I'd been, and of course, and you know, but you know, the reason I recorded that in case I did actually fall off, because I was a bit concerned. Yeah, and also in Ollantaytambo, you know, on the market there, I find this beautiful wand. I think Jeffrey showed a photo of it earlier, like a feather. It's a condor feather, and the wood is Palo Santo, and it's llama leather, and it's got a crystal at the bottom. And I felt really drawn to buy this, and yeah, so I actually bought that and then rolled it up in my yoga mat, which I had at the bottom of my rucksack, you know, to transport it during the rest of my travels. But yeah, that's rather a large one, I have to say. Yeah, from the condor, and they're all ethically sourced. You know, they don't kill the birds or anything with the feathers. But yeah, I just really loved that, and it was a friend that told me about this stall on Ollantaytambo market when we were in the Amazon rainforest, because she'd been there before we went to the Amazon. So yeah, so that's really you know, like a brief potted history about some of my travels in Peru. I ended up spending 9 months in Peru, and then I did 5 weeks in Bolivia, 5 weeks in Brazil. And then I ran out of money and borrowed some money to fly back to the UK. And I moved in with my fellow Paul and stayed with him for a while. And it was there we were offering free hugs, actually, because like my branding had always been around global hugs, and the mission is about helping the excluded to feel included. And so we'd offer hugs to people, just to give them that contact and to show that we cared. So we were offering hugs for 3 days at the yoga show in Manchester. And then my friend had the doTERRA stand there, and she gave me a peppermint experience. And that drop of peppermint oil, I could feel it lasting for 2 hours afterwards. And it was like, wow, what is this? That's incredible. And I had sore knees, and she gave me the deep blue rub, which has like a blend of oils in there, and I put that on my knees and all the pain disappeared. And I thought, wow, this is good stuff. So over the 3 days of the show, I kept going back to the doTERRA essential oil stand saying, what else have you got then? What else can I try? And my intuition was instructing me to buy a set of oils, and I didn't have any money at the time. I still owed Paul money. I didn't have a job, no business, and my intuition saying, buy a set of oils. Oh, okay. So I got my credit card out, bought the cheapest set of oils, and started to use them once I'd actually broken my rib, and the oils were my pain relief, and they were incredible. And then I made the connection, and I realized that the oils are plant medicines. And then I started to join the dots up from working in the Amazon with the sacred plant medicines, and now coming to work with essential oils. And so I started to research them. I started to take them seriously, and it actually became a business for me without me even realizing it. I was teaching classes. I did aromatherapy qualification, and sort of built a team working with essential oils. And I just taught a class last night, actually, and we were talking about essential oils for physical, emotional, and spiritual growth. And the oils are amazing. They're like the soul of the plant, and they're very high vibration. And I remember going to I had a stand at the monastery in Manchester. They had like health and well-being Sundays there, and there was a man with Carillion photography, and I said to him, I want to do an experiment with the oils. And so we did it like a photo, which was a control photo where my aura was all green. And then we did one with 1 drop of frankincense, put that in my hands, inhaled it, just put it through my aura, and it turned to like this golden color. And then I used a drop of rose, not even a drop, just like smelt it and put it through my field, and it just turned to this golden, awesome color. And the man said, this is really interesting. He said, I'm a scientist and I've never experienced this before, like working with oils. He says, so it's really interesting for me to see what's actually happening. Yeah, so the oils became a big part of my life.
I got this is my little travel pack. And I've had this bag, oh gosh, I don't know, 10-15 years now, and I fill it up and it comes with me everywhere. It's like your little emergency first aid, isn't it?
Yeah, I take mine everywhere as well. And it's amazing how many people need the oils and who you can support with them. And I would never ever fly without the On Guard blend, because the On Guard blend gives you that protection against things that are airborne. And I remember I was doing a job in Switzerland, and I got on the plane and I'm sitting next to 2 people, and I said to them, would you like a drop of essential oil to boost your immune system on the flight? Because a lot of people get sick on flights with the air circulation system. And the man said, no, I'm all right, thank you. And his wife said, oh, I'll have a drop, please. So me and her had a drop of the On Guard. I showed her what to do with it. We put it in our hands, inhaled it, put it through our aura. And 50 minutes later, I know the time because I timed it, everybody around us was coughing and sneezing. And the man who was sitting in between us said, I'm feeling really ill. He said, my throat's closing up. I can feel this cold coming on. I said, well, I do have some oils. Would you like some support? And he went, yes, please. So, I put the tea tree on his throat, gave him some on guard. I had the on guard throat drops, and just supported him with the oils. Me and his wife were absolutely fine. But I'm not kidding you. Everybody on that plane was ill.
No surprises there, eh?
Yeah. So the oils became a big part of my life. And then in 2016, it was actually on our 9th anniversary, Paul and I did a relationship review, and we changed our relationship status from partners to best friends. And I said I would move out of his house on the 1st of January, bearing in mind this was like the 26th of December. And I'm thinking, oh, right, we're going to go.
Yeah, here we go again.
Yeah, so I thought I needed a creative solution here. What would be a creative solution? Remember, Deborah, you are a powerful creator. You can create anything you want. And I had to get back into that creation mode and recognize myself, because we can lose it really quickly if we're not using it. So I took myself back to the Amazon. I took myself back to my time in Peru where I could manifest like that. Just got on a really high vibration, and I thought, right, creative solution. Then it dropped in, pet sitting. Why don't you become a pet sitter? Because then you can live in other people's houses. And so I set the intention, and I'd gone to an event at the monastery, and I told the first person. She said, oh, hi, Deborah, how are you doing? I said, I'm great. I said, I'm now looking for house and pet sitting work. And she said, all right, why don't you put an advert in the lady magazine? I said, no, I need to do that, and I've not got time to do that. I need to start on the 1st of January. Another friend came and joined us, and she said, oh, hi, Deborah, how are you doing? I said, oh, great. I'm going to be starting out as a house and pet sitter in January. Third person comes along. Oh, hi, how are you all doing? Oh, great. I'm now going to be pet sitting. I'm looking for a pet sit from the 1st of January. And she said, I'm going away on the 1st of January. Would you like to come and live in my house and look after my cat and my fish? And that's how it all started. And for the first 2 years, it was like going from one job to another, to another, to another. I didn't have a break for 2 years solid. And it was living really in trust, because sometimes the night before, I didn't know where I was going to be living the day after. And it was like I was testing myself to the limit. And then I remembered, I said, right, come on now, drop in. Where am I going tomorrow? But after 6 months of doing the house and pet sitting, I realised that I was providing a really valuable service. And all the time that I was looking after people's pets, that was taking time away from me being able to create an income with my business, with my doTERRA business. And so I started to charge for my services. And, I've got a page, Hugs House and Pet Sitting Service, which is on Facebook. And the majority of my work comes from Facebook, from repeat business with clients, and from referrals. People will tag me in posts when they see people looking for house and pets. And I just love the life that I've created, because it's like living this life of freedom, escaping the matrix. Still living in the trust, but choosing now where I want to go. And I book my own time off. I book my own holidays in there, so that I'm not doing back-to-back sits.
Yeah.
And I just love what I've created. But obviously, when lockdown came and world travel stopped, all my business stopped. I wasn't able to run that business. And my ex-husband had just died of a brain tumor, sadly, which was, and I just took some time out to grieve and to remember him. And then a friend sent me a video about the Healy frequency technology, and I saw this video, and it's like all the hairs on the back of my neck stood up. My intuition was instructing me to buy a device, which I couldn't afford. I didn't have an income. But I paid £2,500 for my Healy device. I just on trust, because my intuition was telling me to buy one. And I started using it, and I was doing remote sessions with people who needed support and having incredible results. And so Healy actually turned into an accidental business for me. Because I'd tell people about it and they wanted to buy one. And I was selling them to a lot of practitioners and therapists. And so I developed training for practitioners and therapists in the modality that I'd actually developed myself. So to teach them my methodology of using it and how they could also use it with clients, which, you know, they found really useful. So, you know, my mission really is about helping people to become the best versions of themselves, to live a high vibrational life, to focus on raising their own frequency. Because when you do that, you're increasing the frequency of the people around you. You're helping to raise a vibration, which then helps humanity. So, you know, and one of the things that we taught is like not to focus on yourself, to focus on other people. But when you go within and when you work on you, you're doing a service for everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, so always remember that it's not a selfish thing that we've been taught. It's actually a role that's super important. So I've been working with the Healy now for 2.5 years, and then earlier this year, in April this year, I started to get a little bit concerned and curious, shall we say, because I'd started to get some lumps under my left breast, and they were getting bigger and starting to spread. And I was using frankincense oil on it, and it wasn't working. I thought that's unusual because frankincense is like really good, things like that. And I'd seen some of the leaders in the healer community talking about the Iteracare, and I researched it, and I felt really drawn to buy one. And within a week of using this, within 7 days, the lumps that I'd had for 3-4 months completely disappeared. And I was using it on my father, who has chronic pain, and I was getting incredible results. Like in 10 minutes, his pain would come down. I could get the same results with the Healy, but it would take an hour.
Fast track.
Yeah. And so I bought my daddy's own Iteracare because, like, he can't use the Healy anywhere because he's not got a smartphone, can't use apps. Whereas with this, it's so easy. You just plug it in and blow it. And what I love about it is that it creates structured water, which is then hydrating for the body because it's able to put the frequencies inside the cells. And when you're using the device, it's releasing toxicity from within the cells and then helping people to heal from the inside out. So it's like a hot air blower, which emits terahertz frequencies, which are the same frequencies as the human cells. And there again, you know, I started to use it myself, and, you know, no intentions of selling it, but you can't do things like this to yourself, can you, Andrena?
No. But it's like the wand has got its own magic and its own momentum, because I didn't plan to. I just got it for myself, and, like, you know, all my soul tribe, if you like, they've all got one, and most of them have got one intuitively without using. But what I love is that you can use it on the animals, and I've worked with a couple of cats, and I want to work more with animals with the device, but it's just absolutely magic, and I'm so blessed that it came into my pathway. But I see you've got the bigger one. I mean, I've only had mine since the end of August, so I've only had it August, coming up to 3 months now, but it's taken its own momentum.
The products are phenomenal. You know, like when I joined, there was only 2 options. There was this one and the Pro version, which is like 10 times the price of this. But they've come out with this one now, which is the premium model, which is phenomenal as well. It's very lightweight, it's very sturdy, comes in a really cool case, you know, it's padded for transportation. So I'm getting faster results with that one. And then I've also recently purchased the 7 Wonders water bottle, which actually creates hydrogen water. Which, you know, this is 7 different things. So you can charge your water up first with the terahertz frequencies, and then pop it in the 7 Wonders bottle, and then you've got your hydrogen water, and it mineralizes the water as well. So I love the product range. You know, they're phenomenal for supporting people, because, like, health, nutrition, cleansing the cells is so important, because so many people now are ill
Yeah.
Because of the toxic overload on the body. And so
Yeah.
one of the things that that I support people with is like actually cleansing the body from a cellular level, you know, and I love the doTERRA cleanse protocol. You know, I do that myself, and I've helped so many people with that. And yeah, so all my work now is around helping people to raise the vibration. And my strapline is be happy, be healthy, and be wealthy.
Yeah.
So that's my journey, and I just love life, and very, very grateful for being here at this extraordinary time when we're part of the shift in human consciousness, and we are building the new earth and dreaming the new dream.
Definitely, definitely. Oh, amazing. Well, it's been absolutely fabulous having you on the show. And yeah, and I've loved you sharing all your different things that happened to you. I mean, you could say life is certainly not boring for you, eh? But I know, like, listening to you talk, I mean, you know, now that everything is sort of settled down, I want to go off and do a bit of traveling, and listening to you, I think, oh yeah, I want to go there, and I'd like to go there. So I know, I'm not sure where I want to go next for a travel option, but I know for me, I got itchy feet at the minute, so I want to go off on a little adventure. So, but I'm just putting it out and see what pops in. So, but yeah, no, it's been absolutely lovely. So thank you for sharing. And obviously, your website, and you're on Facebook, so people can connect with you. So yeah, it's been an absolute delight. So thank you very much for coming and sharing your beautiful stories.
Oh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for the invitation. Yeah, and if anybody wants to connect with me, my social tap link has links to, you know, the things that I do. Yeah, and it's https://socialtap.com. And the Debra Sofia Magdalene is initial capitals. It does recognize the initial capitals, so you need to put that in. Otherwise, if you put it in lowercase, it doesn't come up.
I don't know how you keep up with all your social media. God, for me, it's like, oh my goodness. Oh, anyway. Yeah. So there we go. All right. Thank you, lovely. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Did we have a couple of questions pop up?
Oh, we did, yeah. Yeah.
I think Rowan asked about what oils. Yeah, what oils do you carry with you all the time? So, so do you want to share what you carry? Probably very similar.
Yeah, my go-to, I always carry peppermint with me because it gives me a pep up. It's good for the digestive system. I always have this in my car because when I'm driving, it keeps me alert, gives me more focus, and if I'm on a long drive, you know, it's just incredible for that. Also good, like if you're learning and you're wanting to have that focus. So peppermint I use a lot. On guard is one that I would not travel without. You know, if you're in crowded places, it boosts your immune system, gives you that added protection. Oregano is my go-to as an actual antibiotic. So that is really powerful oil, and it's a hot oil, so you must always dilute it.
I took it in water once, and I took 5 drops. And oh my god! And it was like all of a sudden I had this fire breath, and I went. I was like on fire. I was like, oh my god! I think I turned into a dragon. Flipping out.
Lavender I always travel with because lavender is really good for the skin. If you get insect bites, you know, or if you want to aid restful sleep, lavender. Although there is another blend called Serenity, which is really
I love that one,
for helping you to stay asleep and with unbroken sleep. So I have that in a roller ball next to my bed. But one that I use every single day is actually a blend, which is very, very high vibration. It's called Celobel or Immortel, so it's known as in some countries. And it's a blend of different oils. It's got rose, frankincense, myrrh, lavender, and I think it's sandalwood that's in there. very high vibration oils. And what I do is one bottle of that lasts me for a whole year, because I
Really?
put it into a roller ball, about a quarter of a bottle into a roller ball, top it up with fractionated coconut oil, and then that's part of my skincare routine. And it's really
I
good.
haven't got that one. So how do you spell that one?
It is called Salubelle,
Right.
Salubelle.
Okay.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I use it as a perfume as well. Another one that I absolutely love is wild orange, because I use that in my salad dressings. I use it in my raw cacao smoothies. I make raw chocolate that's healthy with no sugar. I use wild orange or on guard as flavorings, or peppermint. So yeah, there's those. Melaleuca or tea tree oil is another one that I travel with, because it's antifungal, antiviral, antiseptic, anti-everything. Yeah. So like I have, like you, I've got a travel kit, and I've got 3 different pouches in my travel sets. I've got my emergency first aid oil kit. If I'm going to somewhere where there's mosquitoes, for example, I'll use a TerraShield spray, which is fantastic. It's a really good.
It smells nice, that one, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's quite a powerful oil. Yeah, so I sometimes it's really difficult to know which ones to take, and so what I've done is I've decanted. I've got like so many oils now. I've got boxes of them, and what I do is I'll decant them into the 2 ml bottles, and then I'll take the 2 ml bottles with me, and then I've got a range of oils I can carry on then. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So I know. So where was the link that you spoke about yesterday? You did a talk on emotions and oils. Where is that there for anybody to have a listen to?
No, it was a live event. It wasn't.
All right, okay, fair enough. Right. Yeah. Okay.
I just saw a question coming in there.
Oh, from Andrew. Yeah.
Did I see any lights in the sky when I was in the Andes? I didn't in the Andes, but when I was in Guatemala, I did. When I was in Guatemala, we went to Honduras, and we went into Tikal National Park, and we were staying in this ranch there, and you've got like armed guards there on the door, and we actually bribed the guards to let us to escort us into Tikal in the pitch black, and there's some mix up in the arrangements, and by the time Paul and I went to meet the group, they'd already gone. And so we thought, oh, we're not missing this opportunity. So we paid another guard to take us in, on a private tour of the park. And as we were going through the park, it's absolutely pitch black, right? The guard's there with his gun and everything. And we're there saying, are we doing the right thing here? We're going into the jungle. We don't know what's here. We're with somebody we don't know who's armed. But we thought, hey, you're only here once. But as we were going through the trees, these balls of light were darting in and out. And we said, oh, wow, look at that. And the guard was like quite taken aback. And I said, is this normal? And he's
freaked out.
Yeah, and I was saying, like, take me to the door, because like the group had said they were going to go to the door to do this meditation. I'm saying la puerta, alto, and so it actually took us to the highest pyramid in Guatemala. We climbed it in the pitch black, and we're sitting there at the top under the stars and just looking at the stars, and we could see like craft in the sky. It is the most incredible experience, and I'm sitting there thinking, this is surreal.
Yeah.
You can't pay to have these experiences unless you're actually living what you talk. You got to walk your talk, and when you do that, the most magical things happen. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you. It's been an absolute delight and pleasure, and thank you for sharing.
My pleasure.
Hey, what's going on next week?
Ask me next week. I think. Hang on a minute. I think it's Andrew in Glass. No, is it Andrew? No. I got a lot going on here in a minute. Matthew Haynes from Glastonbury
Or is
next
it-
week.
All right.
Yeah, so I'll send you
So
some
I'll
info
be
later.
6 hours out of 6 hours in the desert. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be coming remote from the outback.
Mm.
So we're going to pig racing next week.
Well, that'd be fun, eh? So, but yeah, I'll send you all the info after the
Well-
show. I've got it all ready for rock and roll.
What happened there?
Well, I don't know. You're still live. Mm. Not sure what's going on here, but anyway, we just go.
Jeffrey keeps freezing.
Yeah,
Yeah.